Buddy. Hope you all are enjoying your Friday. If you can't tell, it's nice and sunny outside. That's being a little sarcastic. It's cold and windy and cloudy and good day to stay indoors. Now, I want to let you all know that there has been a update for camp this year, and you can find that on the camp website or also on the Facebook page. You can search SCCA Camp on Facebook and find it. I don't recall the camp website page right now offhand, but I'm sure if you Googled SCCA Camp and Shelby County Christian Assembly, it would pop up. But a quick update for you is we're kind of postponing our early June camp dates, our alpha camps, and combining them with the beta camps. So you'll see camp start in later June, early July. That is the plan right now, and we'll just kind of see how things are going. We don't really know what's going on right now and what we can do as a camp and if we can have camp or not. But that's our plan. We want to have camp. We want to see you guys there. But there's more information there on Facebook and also on the camp website. Now, last week we talked about Pharaoh making his mark in history. We found that in Exodus chapter 5, and we're going to continue that study today. But to continue the recap, Pharaoh wanted to build these great big buildings to make his mark in history. He wanted people from all across the world and also his ancestors to see these great buildings that he made and think, this is the Pharaoh that built the great buildings. That was his mark. Now the Hebrews, they were his workforce. They were the ones that was going to build these great buildings to have everyone see. And here comes Moses bringing up this idea to let the Hebrews have 3 days off to go worship their God in the wilderness. And Pharaoh doesn't see that as benefiting to him at all. He sees that as 3 days that work's not getting done. So we come to the end of our study last week with a question of, are the Hebrews seeing Moses' request for this time off to be a good request or not? And this week we're going to dive into what the people think of this request. So we are going to go ahead and start reading in Exodus chapter 5, verses 20 through 23. And it reads, When they left Pharaoh's presence, they met Moses and Aaron as they were waiting for them. They said to them, May the Lord look upon you and judge you, for you have made us odious in Pharaoh's sight, in the sight of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to kill us. Then Moses returned to the Lord and said, O Lord, why have you brought harm to these people? Why did you ever send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done harm to his people, and you have not delivered your people at all. So again, this is Moses' first act of obedience to God. God says, you're going to go to Egypt, you're going to free my people, and we're going to establish a nation. You are the one to do this. So here's Moses getting excited for it. He walks into Egypt, and he's thinking, I'm going to do some miracles, and the people are going to love me. They're going to love that God is setting their people free. Well, it didn't go to that plan. It didn't go accordingly. Now, I want to talk to you guys that might be thinking about going into leadership, whether it be in ministry, whether it be in leadership and deacons or elders, or maybe event planning, leadership in general. It doesn't have to be just in church, but leadership, management. Maybe you want to be a manager or a boss of a company. I think you all that go through leadership will have a moment just like Moses here. A moment of disappointment, a moment of questioning whether what you're doing is right or wrong, or if you should continue doing this. And I look back on my life and I remember the first youth group that I led. I was really excited for it. I had a lot of passion. I was young. I was 16 at the time, and I just felt an overwhelming joy to be able to do God's work, to be called to go into ministry. And I remember we had a youth band, and it was a lot of fun to be able to play. I played guitar. We had another guitarist, and we had a drummer. We had a girl that sang and also played keyboard. And also we had Rex. If you remember Rex, he was our lead singer, and Rex used to sing when I was here playing with the college people. I think that was out of notification on Facebook this morning saying that was 3 years ago today. So, wow, time has really passed by. But the first youth group, we had a band, and we were really good. We had a lot of fun. And we also ate a lot of good pizza too. My dad had a buddy who gave us a good deal on pizza. It was, if you've eaten at Yugo's here and around in Bevere, you know how good a pizza Yugo's pizza is. Well, we had a similar place called Mario's. Mario's had the best pizza around. That's my personal opinion, that it was the best. And Mario's was the one that gave us a good deal on pizza. So we ate really good. And it was a lot of fun. But also, what I thought was the coolest thing about this youth group is when I started, there was about 4 or 5 kids that were coming. And I reached out to a couple kids from the local neighborhood, and just over a week of inviting some kids to youth, saying there's music, there's free food, and you just have to listen to me talk for about 10, 15 minutes. It went from 5 kids up to 20 in the first week, and then up to 40 people shortly after that. And there's a lot of kids who never been to church. They didn't know who Jesus was. I remember a 5th grader coming up and asking me, "Who's Jesus?" Like, he had no clue who Jesus was. And it was a great time to share the gospel message at the most basic level, that Jesus is our God. He came, died on the cross for the forgiveness of our sins. And it was a really cool experience to be able to see that happen. Well, some issues happened at the church, and not getting any details, it just wasn't a place for me to continue leading youth group. I remember being 17 years old, in my first year of ministry, asking myself, or asking God, why am I doing ministry? Why would you call me into ministry if this good thing, this good ministry that I'm doing, isn't working out? Again, I was young, I had a lot of passion to lead youth to Christ, and really I was willing to do whatever it took. And why did God allow this good thing not to happen? That was really hard for me to come to terms when I was 17 years old. Looking back, I could see that I was at a crossroads in my life. I had choices to make. Was I going to continue ministry, or was I going to go down a different path? And I had people talking from both sides. There's people who were really encouraging me to go off to college, go play football in college, and go get a real job, something that'll pay the bills. There's a lot of people encouraging me to do that. But the other choice, to continue ministry, there wasn't as many people all hyped about me continuing into ministry. There was a few, and I'm really grateful for them. They helped me see that God still had a plan for me, still had a purpose, still had a calling, that I could continue ministry, even though it didn't work out this first time, continue going. And I really thank those people for helping me get through that, to be able to continue staying into ministry. My dog is sitting here wanting to play right now. He's nudging me. If you didn't know, I have a dog named Willie. He's a little miniature schnauzer. He might start squeaking his toy here in a minute, so if you hear squeaking, that's what it is. But back to the lesson. Thinking back when I was 17, I know it took me a few years to realize this, that I had to come to terms with the fact that even though I'm following God's will, even though I'm following God's calling in my life and what He's leading me to do, that doesn't always mean things are going to work out or even work out smoothly. And I kind of laugh thinking back that I guess I didn't read my Bible very well, because usually people go into ministry, it doesn't always work out really well. Think of the prophets or the apostles. They didn't have a smooth road the whole way there. There's a lot of bumps, but there's a bigger purpose, a bigger calling. And throughout those few years of going through ministry, I've learned that my feelings will get hurt, that I will lose friends because of ministry. And also I'll come to stages in my life where I'll question God and question God's plan. And I'm telling you this stuff not to discourage you all from going into ministry or going into leadership or anything. Quite frankly, I'm just being a little blunt. It's some things that people didn't necessarily talk to me about or explain to me, that there'd be hard times to this extent. I'm just wanting to let you guys in and maybe think about this. That way when things happen to you, you might be a little bit more prepared. I know for me, there was a lot of emotions and a lot of passion for ministry, and when things didn't go right, I just thought, I just want to give up. How easier would it be just to give up and go do something else? When I started ministry, I was 16 years old, and now I'm 23 years old, and if I'm doing math correctly, that means I have 7 years into ministry. I'm not saying that I know everything, just saying that I have 7 years. I've been here for a little bit. And looking back, I've learned quite a bit of lessons, and I'm still learning a lot today, too. And I can tell you all today that sitting here as a youth minister here at Callio Christian Church, I am glad that I stuck with ministry. I don't have regrets, and if I was given a second chance to either go do ministry or continue a business or go to college, I honestly believe that I'd continue following God's plan, going into ministry. Now, I know I've talked to you all about some bad times that's happened in ministry, and bad times come, but also there was a lot of really good times, really good experiences. I've been able to meet lots of great people to pour into my life and help me grow spiritually as a Christian. I've been able to pour my life into other people, into different kids, different adults, different people my age with experiences that I've gone through, and I feel like I've been able to help them go through their experiences as well. And also, I think the biggest thing that I found is I found affirmation in my faith, in my belief in God. And what does that mean? Well, I honestly believe that God will take care of me through any life circumstances, whether good or bad. I always know that God is there. I don't really have that questioning if I'm really a Christian anymore, or if I ever was a Christian. I have affirmation because God's always been there with me through the tough times, through the good times, and I'm confident in my faith there. But I put my affirmation in God because that's a good place to put your affirmation in, to get your fulfillment in God. I used to try to get my fulfillment in other people, and that's not always a good thing. Because I don't know about you, but I've realized that when I rely on other people or have expectations on other people, they always fall short of my expectations. And I feel kind of less of a person when people and my expectations are not fulfilled. But when you put your expectations and your fulfillment in God, He'll always fill you up. Now, it might not be in a way that you expect, but I guarantee you that God will always bless you and fulfill you to your needs. Now, when people say God will bless you, God will fulfill you, that I'm not talking about physical, like money or anything like that. Rather, a spiritual. Like you can be dirt poor, but still be spiritually fulfilled, and that's fine. And I'm totally grateful for God always fulfilling me spiritually, always reaffirming me. So I want to encourage you guys that if you ever go into ministry, leadership, or maybe you're even questioning, should I even be a Christian? One piece of advice I can give you all is God will always fulfill you. And if you put that faith in God, you won't be disappointed. I don't know a Christian ever who was 80, 90 years old and said, oh, I regret being a Christian. I've never met a single one. If you go talk to older people who are Christians, they'll say, man, I wish I did more. Wish I was a better Christian through these years. They know that love of God. They know that God loves them and the importance of being a Christian is and sharing Christianity with other people. You won't be disappointed if you put your faith in God. You won't have regrets when you're older. And if you're going into ministry, stick it out. I know the first 2 years are really tough. I've talked to a lot of different people my age and going through ministry, and the first 2 years are really tough. But after that, I think it gets a little bit easier. And might not be the case for everybody, but that's just what I've observed. So hang in there. You can get through this. And I know that you guys, you're going to face your crossroads. You're going to come to a point in your ministry or leadership or your life, your Christian walk, where you're going to say, you know what, this is really tough. This isn't going the way I planned, the way I wanted it to. Should I continue into ministry? Should I continue with the faith? Or should I go do something else? Now, just like Moses here, he's at his crossroads. The people are at a point where they do not like Moses at all. They're saying, you know what? You should have stayed away because now Pharaoh wants to kill us. We were slaves, things were hard, but now things are even harder. We don't have straw for our bricks, and they're just going to put a sword in their hands and just kill us. Now, if you've read through the book of Exodus and know the story of Moses, you know that this isn't the end for Moses. Moses draws closer to God, and he gets through this. Now, this is a really rough time. This is his first hard time, and there's plenty more to come throughout the rest of the story. And Moses is going to deal with these Hebrews in the wilderness. They're going to constantly complain. They're going to say, oh, we should have turned back and go to Egypt and be slaves. Our lives were much more happier then. Well, Moses' purpose is to free these people. how hard would it be to continue leading a people who always complain, always say, oh, I want to go back to being a slave. Like, I don't want to be a slave. I've never been a slave. And I don't know, just if I was a slave, I know that slaves want freedom. And when you have freedom, you want to go back to it. I can't imagine the grumbling and the headache that Moses had to put up with. Now, I hope that you guys continue joining in and come back next week, because we're going to see about what God has to say to Moses. Now, for my Bible, you turn the page and it starts chapter 6. And it starts off, it says, Then the Lord said to Moses. So Moses has something to say to Moses, and God has a plan. God has a plan to continue Moses' ministry, to continue Moses leading the people, and also to get the people free. So with that being said, thanks for joining in, and I'll see you all next week.